All right, good afternoon YouTube. My name is Nick with NK Landscaping. Again, as usual, got something a little different for you today. So if you haven't already noticed, I bought a sawmill. This is a Woodland Mills HM122 sawmill with the Overlander off-road trailer package. So why did I buy a sawmill, you're gonna ask? I've always wanted one. When I had my property that me and my wife were gonna build our house on, I had a lot of trees to take down. I kind of wanted one there. After we sold that property, that thought kind of got pushed to the back burner. But I have 3 acres on the property I'm on now. It's actually my grandparents' house. So since the 70s, 1970 to be exact, my grandparents have owned this property, and I'm lucky enough to have bought it 3 years ago now. So I got 3 acres full of trees. A large portion of my property is wooded, and we've got a lot of ash, red oak, not much maple, some other different trees, but the ash borer beetle really took its toll on a lot of my ash trees. And then the majority of my other trees got hit with the whatever those moths and caterpillars were. So I got trees dying everywhere, and you can see behind me, do a lot of firewood. We primarily heat our house with wood in the winter, and I figured now was the time to purchase a sawmill because I got a couple projects coming up where I want to build some things out of lumber. You might be able to see that firewood shack back there. I built that using lumber that was already on this property. My uncle had a big pile of pressure treated lumber. It was also his house. He passed away quite a number of years ago. So I used that lumber and some purchased lumber to build that. But I want to build stuff using the wood that I have on hand. I want to build a fence for my dog, a couple different things. So that brings us to the sawmill. So let's get this thing leveled out, set up. So this does have the extension on the back, so I can cut almost a 17-foot piece of lumber. You're really gonna get about a 16-foot piece out of this thing. So let's level it, and we'll probably throw a log on it and show you how it works. So in real time, that took about 20 minutes to level. My ground here is sloping downhill that direction and away from us. So the way you level this thing, you basically use the crank jack for the trailer tongue. So there's a mount right there to level everything in front of the axle. There's a mount right here to level everything behind the axle. That only levels you in the forward and backward direction, not left and right. So I had to get a little creative there to jack up the downhill side. Another thing is this extension here. So this is an extra extension that gets you to that 16-foot log, and I had to give that a little extra leveling. But now you can see this thing rolls nice and smooth. Everything's level, left, right, front to back. That's really important for cutting a nice piece of lumber. So you can tell this thing is not brand new. I did get it brand new. It was delivered about a week and a half ago. I had to build this whole thing. The only thing that really came put together was the engine and the bandsaw assembly. We've got about 4.8 hours on it right now. I just did the break-in oil change and I put a new blade on. You're gonna get about 4 to 6 hours of blade life, depending on what you're cutting. If you hit a nail or something, you're gonna kind of cook a blade. Blades are actually quite affordable. I was surprised. I think I paid $20 a blade. I got them in a 5-pack, plus the blade that came on the machine, so 6 blades total. They do sell a blade sharpener. You can sharpen these blades about 5 times. That is something I'm gonna look into eventually, but at 20 bucks a blade, that's not bad at all, especially 5 hours roughly per blade. I'm gonna keep all my old blades, so if I do get that sharpener, I have blades to sharpen. But anyway, I think it's time that we try to cut a log here. Before we get into that, how do you load logs on this? They sell a ramp with a winch. I didn't opt for that. It was a few $100s. I have equipment. Unfortunately, the KX33 excavator with the Steelwrist grapple, it's not here. We just brought it out to a job. But I think I have something that will work, and I got a log behind me that just fell down the other day. So let's bring over the machine, load the log, and make some boards. Told you I had something to pick it up. I'm gonna cut a nice 10-foot section off of this. I can see a nice straight section that's just over 10 feet. I can get some 10-foot boards out of this thing. So I've got my log stops set on the back side of the mill so this log doesn't go tumbling off of here. Kind of gently get this set in position. Stabilizer before I pop a wheelie, because we're right on that part, right about there. Oh, don't be slipping. All right. All right, we got the log on here. I got the mill warming up. So again, I have zero idea what I'm doing because I'm new to this. Just about a 9-inch diameter on the fat end. And it's 9.5, but overall maybe 8.5 inches. Pretty good. So it's got a bit of a bend. You can see we're off the log bunk, so we're gonna need to rotate this thing. Let's do that now. We'll get it rotated and figure out the best position for it to make our first kind of leveling cut. Again, I don't know what to call these things. I'm new to this. Yes, I did buy the log hook. I used to have one, but it's gone. So that looks maybe a little bit more. I gotta drop those log stops in a moment here. Let's temporarily hold that in position there. Let's temporarily hold that in position there. Keep it from flipping around on me. Go ahead and drop these log stops so I don't cut through them. I'm going to try my best to not ever cut through these things. I know it happens to everybody. At some point, or multiple points, it's inevitable. But let's get them dropped. See a bunch of holes in this guy from the ash boring beetle. So I wonder what he's going to look like on the inside. Let's see. That looks pretty good to me. I'm going to take a few measurements across this thing. I'll kind of set my set my height that I want to cut at. I think I'm going to take an 8-inch cut. See if that does any good for me. Let's back this off and put that a little lower. Okay, I think I like that. All right, we've got that set to 8 inches, so that'll take the top off of here. A lot of people like to debark. I guess I could walk around and pull off the bark. The bark has the most dirt and abrasives in it, and that's what leads to wear on your blades. I'm lazy, so let's take a cut, see what it looks like. Nice and smooth. Let me get the blower and take a look and see what that looks like. That was a nice cut. I think I do need to go a bit lower, but you can see really nice grain in here. I don't really have enough width to make anything out of it yet. This is a small log, so I'm not going to get much out of it anyway. But that nice new blade cuts really nice. And I don't think I have this end leveled all the way because it's rolling on me. If I hold it for a second, it stops. It's not too bad. But anyway, I think we're going to take maybe, I'll have to see, maybe half, 3/4 inch off of there. Get down to a wide enough board. This thing's got a curve in it. So, again, guys, I have zero idea what I'm doing. Aside from watching some YouTube videos and putting 5 hours on this thing myself, that's the only knowledge I have. So if you know better than I do, which is probably going to be the majority of the people watching, drop a comment, tell me what I'm doing wrong. I'm always eager to learn and improve on how to do things better. But real quick, this is all the lumber I've milled already. I got a couple more pieces in the house. Most of these are 3/4 to 7/8 inch thick, ranging anywhere from 8 inches to 6 inches. The majority of them are. I've got red oak. I think I have hickory or beech. I'm not exactly sure. I don't know my trees that well. And they're 10 to 12 feet long. There's a couple pieces in here that are really messed up. You can see this one's kind of wee. It's like a Home Depot quality. Just goes to show I'm not exactly sure what I'm doing here yet. Most of the planks are pretty good. I think that's going to be a mix of stuff for my fence and maybe some siding for one of these firewood shacks I'm going to be building here. I also want to build a building for the mill to go in because I don't want it sitting outside. Everything is pretty much painted or galvanized, but you can see, like I said, I've had this thing for a couple weeks here. We've got some rust starting from a spot that was, not perfectly galvanized. So want to get this thing under a cover. Would be nice. So let's take a couple more cuts on this thing. see if we can get anything useful out of it, and then talk about why I bought this exact model mill and all that good stuff. Alright guys, so what we've got here is the world's ugliest 6x6. You can buy better quality Home Depot. This piece wasn't great. It really had a good bend going to it, but I think I can get some 3/4 inch thick pieces out of there at 6 inches wide. Get a few of those. Nothing special, really not a great log, but what else are you gonna do here, you know? You're using what you get out of the forest to make what you can. So small logs aren't going to yield a whole lot here, but that's okay. Anything that comes off of this, scraps, or even if I cut a piece and don't end up using it, it's just going in the burn pile, and it's still gonna give me something. So it's not a total lost cause. Well guys, I was able to get 5 3/4 by 6 inch boards. I was having some trouble on a couple of those. The ones in the middle weren't bad. Yeah, this one's pretty good, but especially this last board, I don't know if you could see, it's really thin on the end and then it widens out in the middle. So I don't know what was going on if the log wasn't clamped down properly. The ones in the middle are looking pretty good, but 3/4 by 6 is a popular size. It's gonna be something for a fence or siding. So you can get quite a few of those out of any piece of lumber, really. I got a decent amount of logs over here that I'm gonna be cutting up, some for firewood, some for this. I still got a few trees that need to come down that are dead. There's 3 that I can see right now. But anyway, let's talk about why I chose this machine. So why did I choose Woodland Mills over other brands? I know there's Wood Miser, a couple other what you would call American brands. Woodland Mills is a Canadian company. They're really transparent in saying that their stuff is made in China, but from what I read, their customer service is top-notch. I can vouch for that a little bit. When I was building this thing, I ended up missing 1 nut and a washer, along with one of the latches for the doors on the band saw compartment was broken. I called them up and immediately they just sent me out a new set. Luckily I had a nut and a washer. It was a big M20 nut, lock nut, and I just happened to have one in stock, so I threw that on there, and that's getting me by for now, but they sent that out no problem. Basically I watched a video. I was looking at the Harbor Freight versus, I think Wood Miser makes like a basic entry-level guy. They're about $2,500 and they are ground mounted. The Harbor Freight one looks pretty nice, very basic, but I didn't love the fact that it didn't seem like track extensions were available, and I need to be able to cut more than a 10-foot board. I wanted 16 foot so I can at least get 2 8-footers. At least I have the options. And what I saw about the Wood Miser was there was like a lot of parts. It almost seemed like excessively built. And then I stumbled across Woodland Mills, and I just went down the rabbit hole and started watching videos from a number of different people. I can't remember them off the top of my head. What caught my eye and kind of made me pull the trigger on this one was the trailer package. So unfortunately with the HM122, you do not get a road legal trailer. This is just like an ATV style trailer. These wheels and axles actually pull out of here if you want to kind of break this thing down to a little bit smaller footprint so you can walk closer to the track or whatever. I wanted the ability to be able to move this thing around. Street legality didn't really bother me too much. I know if you hop up to the HM126, the next size up, it has a street legal trailer. I have bigger equipment to move this. So if I need to move this to, say, Kurt's house or my parents' house, I can take the mule, hook it to this, load it onto my gooseneck, and take it over there. Yeah, it adds an extra step, but it's like, I'm probably gonna want the mule anyway to move some stuff around. Or the BX I could hook it to and bring that over there. The trailer was huge for me. So Woodland Mills, it seemed like, had a better package, all said and done, for a small, budget friendly entry-level sawmill. It's called the HM122 because it will take a 22-inch log. I've read that a lot of people say it's more like a 20-inch log. It'll do a 7.5-inch deep cut, and like I said, it's just over 16 feet long, so you can cut a 16-foot board. All those things together. I want an entry level because going into this, you know, I was all excited from watching videos, and it's kind of this dream that I wanted. Who knows if I'm going to abandon this hobby in a couple months. I doubt it, but I didn't want to go buy like a $7,000 or $7,000 plus machine and find that I don't get enough use out of it and it just kind of sits. I figured, let me get the smallest one with the track extension and the trailer, so it's portable, it's capable, and it'll still do a good enough job for me where I can cut lumber and get my projects done. And if I want to upgrade in the future, I could sell it and buy a better one. So I'm pretty happy with this thing so far. The construction's pretty good. Like I said, they're a Canadian company. They're pretty upfront. You go right to their website and they say it in their about page that these things are made in China. They're able to make them pretty affordable. I think this thing was just over $5,000 shipped to my door. It showed up in like less than a week. It shipped out of Buffalo. So that was nice. It took about 10 hours to put together in the garage. I was only missing those 2 parts, and one part was kind of busted. And like I said, we're over 5 hours now, and it's performed flawlessly. It seems that I'm the only one having issues here, cutting things improperly. So that's about it. Like I said, please, if you know more than these about me, I'm open to any suggestion you have for me. What am I doing wrong? What am I doing right? I don't know. I'd love to learn. So I want to thank you guys for watching. Let me know if you want to see more content on this thing as I kind of learn how to use it and make some things. Like I said, I'm excited to do some projects. It's one of those things, you spend $5 grand to save some money on lumber. You could build a lot of things for $5 grand, but being able to make things whenever I need them and custom sizes is really cool. I have a pretty good wood shop in the garage, like a planer and saws and things, so I can kind of make whatever I need. So thank you guys for watching. I will see you on the next one, and like, comment, subscribe if you're into that. If not, sounds good to me too. I'll see you around.